Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Cryllionaire Crypto Podcast. We've got a very interesting guest this week. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Davos in Switzerland for the World Economic Forum and met some amazing people over there. And, there's all the world leaders and there's the billionaires and the super important people. And sometimes you just meet someone randomly and go, wow, why are you not on a stage? You need to be on a stage. And so this gentleman that I met, Egor PODKOLZIN, he is a banker. He's a businessman. He's a co-founder of a couple of fintech products. He's got businesses that are operating worldwide. He's also a musician, an extreme sports enthusiast, and he has his own podcast as well where he interviews people. And Egor has got a very, very interesting story of how he came to be a banker. So, mate, would you like to give us a little bit of intro, or would you like to tell us what sort of music you're into? Where do you want to start?
First of all, hey Jeremy, and hey everyone who's watching us now or listening to us now. Thank you very much for inviting me today, and thank you very much for the brief introduction you already gave to me. It's such an honor for me. So yeah, basically, I think it's better for you to ask him some questions, which you're gonna kick off with, and so let's like moderate this conversation that way.
Let's start with the music before we get to the really exciting part.
Yeah, that somehow surprisingly, besides all of my businesses and everything, because I wasn't a business since I was 17. I was never working as a usual job as an employee, not a single day in my life, and not a single salary I was gotten in my life. Um, got a bunch of passions, let's say. Yeah, one of them is heavy metal music. So it came out from that. I was listening to Metallica since I was 8 years old. Back in the days, my parents was bringing me this, cassettes, not even the CDs, but like, that super old school stuff. So I got obsessed with this. Yeah, right away. So it just kept growing and growing and growing. And it came out that I started to play. And yeah, that's another funny story about that, how I started to do that, basically. Because my father gave me the just acoustic guitar when I was like 13, but it seemed super boring for me for 4 years until, as you mentioned, I have another passion, which is extreme sports. So one day I got really hurt on my mountain bike. I broke my leg and I lost my memory and I had a brain injury.
Man.
So I was laying down at home and it was forbidden for me to do any sorts of activities, even reading or like anything. I was just able to lay down and
Mm.
chill because of my brain to like, restore itself. So I just remember that I got a guitar and I started to play with it. And that's how that my passion of listening it replaced with the passion of creating. So I started to learn myself. I was 20 at that point,
Hmm.
20 years old when I started to actually learn how to play, how to create, how to come with something. So it became like learn to play guitar, then drums. And then I found a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, who became my guitarist, and then we put together the band. Back then, it was mid 2010s in Ukraine. So yeah, in a few years we started to play. We recorded a CD. We started to having shows in Ukraine. But once again, like the heavy metal stage, especially in Ukraine, is very like specific
Yeah.
in the terms that um, it's impossible to become like a professional. It's impossible to get paid for it. So it was just our hobby and our passion. So yeah, we were playing at some small shows with like 100, 200 people, but it really gave us lots of joy. And for me personally, it was very, very unique experience in some way, and I'm trying
Mm.
to implement this even in my business skills right now, and my business is what I'm doing when I'm like even taking in interviews or getting the stage at some conferences or at some meetings, So this skills I got there when you are
Yeah.
on stage in front of like 300 people, and obviously you're not a pro musician, you're no one. So you need to pretend you can do that. And when it comes out, it really was cool. People liked it. So
Mm.
yeah, for me, it gave me a lot of like self-consciousness in some sort of way.
Yeah, I guess performing on stage is similar to going to a business meeting. Like you're open, you're raw, you're
Yeah,
exposed, and it gives you the self confidence because you're presenting in front of people, whether you're giving a speech or whether you're playing a guitar solo. So it's a similar skill set.
exactly. And I became a frontman, so I became a singer. So I learned how to sing for a few
Yeah.
years. I was going to like lessons, and I started to write the songs, the lyrics, and performing. So it all was my like part job. But yeah, during we did it for like 4 years or something,
Yeah.
and during that period, we got paid once. We were touring to another city called Kharkov City. It's in
Mm.
Ukraine. It's like 500 kilometers away from capital when we were living,
Yeah.
and we were paid with um, 200 hryvnias for the whole band. Back in the days, it was like 10 euros.
For a whole night.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Funny, funny.
Where are
So
you from in Ukraine, Igor?
we
Basically,
can't see you,
yeah. Hey,
Kevin.
Kevin.
Hey,
Yeah. Hello, Kevin. Nice to see you. I'm from Kiev, from capital city. I was born and raised there and moved just because of the war.
yeah. Hopefully that war should be over soon. Fingers crossed. Who knows?
We'll see. Hope so, man. And it already take a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I want to find out, Igor, before you were being the rock star, before you were being the businessman, the extreme sports, mate. Like what you jumping your motorcycle over a bus, or what were you doing?
Basically, but not a motorcycle, bike in terms of mountain biking, like bicycle.
Oh, mountain bike, right, right. Yep.
Yeah, it was my other obsession. Like, uh, I started to ride extremely when I was 12.
Yeah.
So it's like 22 years already I'm riding. And yeah, I did a bunch of dangerous stuff back then, especially back, it was like 2002 in Ukraine. We did not have any specialized equipment. We didn't have extreme bikes or some parts. We did it just on usual mountain bikes, which weren't absolutely not made for it. So I could have been heavily injured or died or paralyzed or something, you name it, for like million times. But
Mm,
fortunately, I don't know how. I just made through it. And later on, maybe like in 2018, I think, or 19 or something, it was it became accessible for everyone to get the specialized equipment because they're obviously like extreme mountain bike is different than usual bike for just riding the roads or something. So yeah, then it became a bit less dangerous, but still, yeah, I was taking parts in competitions. I did big stunts, like on level of Ukrainian riders. I was maybe sounds them proud of me, but like one of the top riders at some points. We were shot in the movies, we were shot in the videos. It was yeah, another kind of some activity
mm,
which gave me like energy and passion to be focused on something before I learned how to make business, how to create some things. I need to put my energy somewhere, and this gave me the very good outcome. And it gave me a lot of friends, it gave me a lot of skills, it gave me a lot of knowledge, a lot
mm,
of uh, tools how to overcome your fear. And it's very important, I suppose. Now
yeah.
I'm reminiscent that, recalling all the way, and I understand that this is an important thing for me. And even before that, before I became to mountain bike and to extreme sports in general, my parents got me to do martial arts since I was 6.
Mm.
So I was training like parallelly since I was a little kid in martial arts. And later on, I was for 10 years training, and I became a Ukrainian champion in martial arts when I was 15, I think. And I was parallelly riding mountain bikes and doing martial arts, participating in competitions and everything. So when I was like a teenager, I was fully focused on sports. I was absolutely obsessed with sports. Nothing else would ever interested me, like nothing. I was just there. And back in the days, the living was tough, I would say, Everyone, especially in Ukraine, back in those days, we had no money, we had no opportunities, basically nothing. It was
Mm.
really poor and like broke country. So lots of my peers back in the days, they become, interested in some destructive things such as like drugs, alcohol, and then that sort of stuff. So I think I needed this, to be focused on something more productive and more like constructive or something. Yeah, and it helped me a lot.
You're saying it's something more productive, and I'm thinking, drugs and alcohol. Obviously, you could risk your life with those, but you're just going to risk your life on a bike and get a brain injury. At
At least,
least you were
the
entertaining, right?
first and secondary, the outcome is not guaranteed. With drugs and alcohol, it's 100% guaranteed that you're gonna ruin your life. But
Yeah.
there, you know.
So
Yeah,
mate,
but it was fun times.
the injuring yourself on a bike and ending up in hospital, that's not the only time that you've risked your life.
Yeah.
So do you want to give an introduction to the story, because obviously we've got the only U bank, but there's a particular focus. You're focused on women, and you're
Yeah.
focused on crypto, and you're focused on cards. So tell me first why the women, and then we'll get to how the cards came about.
Yeah, because when I got to this, like it's in a whole, it's quite interesting story of how we came out with this project and how I met my partners who are my co-founders in this project, etc., etc. So it all happened accidentally, to be short,
Mm.
everything. But as we gathered together with my current co-founders, which I do appreciate them very, very big time, um, we just started to research because everyone is expert in banking, in Web3, in crypto, in legal structuring of banking projects and all that sort of things. So we were basically thinking, how can we implement the skills to build something fresh, to give some, fresh breath into the world of fintech? And we started the research basically. So we came out that women are 84% more active on social medias, both promoting something and consuming something. Because if you think about it, all of the major bloggers, influencers, etc., on Instagram are female.
Mm-hmm.
So we came out with the idea that they are taking the significant part of the market, which is significantly growing year by year. I mean, digital consuming and digital goods market and social networks and all that sort of stuff. So we came out with tailoring the product for them, and then we started to develop it. And then we started to talk to a lot of them, to influencers, to leaders of female communities, to women who are into some supporting programs in Europe, in UK, in Africa, in India, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
So we did quite a big jump, talking to them and validating what we are doing in general. And we found out that there is another whole group of audience we can target is female communities. Because once again, women are super active, being into the communities, being into business, being into building something. They're super disciplined. They're like extremely, extremely, how to call it, passionate about what they are doing, you know? And unfortunately, even today, they're usually not compensated enough for their efforts. And it makes no sense. When we saw the numbers, when we saw the statistics, we were like, how is it possible in modern world? So we came up with the idea that if we're gonna solve these like inequalities and give them more of opportunities, more of a tools, and basically just focus on them, just give them a bit of attention, which no banking or fintech projects did before, then we can become like a big thing to the audience, and we can attract a number of loyal customers from there. But we're transparent. We just want to build a good product for them. So our main goal, as you focused, now we just launched our crypto-friendly payment card, which is instantly issued and receives all sort of payments in crypto and fiat and automatically converting it. But it's just the first step of our product. Our general idea is to give them the big, big, big application when they can gather as a big community and exchange ideas, experience, educate each other, give each other opportunities like such as jobs, or I don't know, just some lessons or something, or educational, how to work with Web3 elements, how to invest both in crypto or in usual traditional assets. So yeah, I just wanted to work that way, let's say, if it makes sense.
Nice.
So tell us a little bit more about the stage of the company and where you guys are at.
Yeah, we just launched our card, which is, as I mentioned, the first iteration of our product. We have a roadmap going on for launching more and more and more products. We just now started with the first iteration of it. Our card is already working, but it's now in a beta stage of testing. We are using it by ourselves and by our close team members. We have a board of advisors, of female advisors from different industries. So we are now testing everything to make sure it works. Then we're going to launch it publicly and promote it publicly, first within Europe Union and UK, because we are legally can do this in the current stage. Then to expand it on other markets, but we have no limitations. If customer has not sanctioned passport, he can issue our card and use it worldwide. So for instance, you can top up with Bitcoin and you can go to, I don't know, India, and you will pay directly from your Bitcoin wallet, and you're going to be swapping automatically to local rupees, for instance, or wherever you go. So that's how it works today. Then we're about to open a round, I think, because we still need to build the whole infrastructure. We need to expand the team. We need to develop a lot of products, and it takes time and resources, as you guys might understand. So from that point on, now we're using this to gather the community, to build the community around the product. Yeah. And then to attract a seed round, and then to expand by developing our product further and further. We have in our pitch deck the write it down, all the roadmap with all the like AI tools, automatic routing, even issuing our own token, which I cannot publicly speak yet about, but at some point we're gonna issue even our own token. We already even counted the tokenomics, which was quite challenging, but we did it. We consulted with guys from big exchanges, experts in the industry, and I think we designed it quite well.
Very cool. Very cool. So I was before Kevin came on, we had a little chat about how we first met, and I don't even I think it was something to do with the card. That got down the rabbit hole story. So do you want to tell us not just how you became a banker after being a rock star, but how you actually exited Ukraine, how you got to be in Davos?
Oh, that's a long story. As I mentioned, I was never willing to leave Ukraine, to leave my home city and my home country, but unfortunately, because of the war, I had to.
Mm.
And as soon as I did it, like the first minutes as the war started, we just escaped.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long story, and it was quite tough because I just lost everything I had. I had two separate businesses in Ukraine, which were working well. I was living in the center of the capital. I was driving my fancy Jaguar and stuff. And I literally lost everything. I stuck in Poland accidentally. Just in one day, I just like appeared there. And my former partners, who I was relying on, actually betrayed me. They just left me there and moved to Slovakia to live their own lives. So yeah, I stuck there with no sources for surviving. It was just literally nothing. No business, no job, no friends, no opportunities. Fortunately, I found myself in a small village in the Polish mountains in the middle of nowhere. Like literally it was like once again, it's a very long story, but to be short,
You,
we
you
still
you
have a
walked
form.
from Ukraine to Poland.
Basically so.
How far is that for those people who don't know their geography?
Uh, I didn't know the geography as well until I did it by myself, around 15 kilometers, I think.
15 kilometers. Yeah.
Yeah,
Illegal
yeah, and it took
illegal
like
border crossing.
um, I can't publicly talk about it.
Understand. Yeah.
But partly, partly so, let's say, because at that point, yeah, borders were already closed,
Mm,
and I'm totally disagree with that. I'm supporting my country. I love my country. I really want my country to win. I don't like Russia at all. But, I will never let somebody to cut off my freedom.
mm,
And I will never accept somebody telling me if I can go somewhere or not. It's just not how things are working for me personally. So I can support my country and I'm doing this in all the other ways, all the ways possible. But I was never seeing myself in the army. I was never seeing myself at the war. It's just not my thing.
mm-hmm,
And I can be judged by my peers who are still living in Ukraine. I have friends who are at the war. I
mm,
have a lot of friends who died at the war or died because of the war, you know. And it's tough for everyone, for every one of us.
mm,
But I don't agree with that. Right now in Ukraine, you basically have two options. As a male person, 18 to 60 years old, to go to prison or to go to the war.
mm.
If you're healthy
16 to
enough,
20?
18 to 60.
Wow.
Yeah. So literally, if I will go back home right now, I'll go to prison most likely. And I don't think it's the way it should be, you know? So just because somebody thinks it is. So for me personally, both is not an option. So that's why I made my decision, which is tough. Believe me, I paid enough for it. I mean, mentally. So yeah, that's how I cut off everything I had there
Mm.
because I understood that there's no way. And started from the ground up.
When
So
you
yeah, for the
crossed when
whole
you crossed
year,
into Poland, you didn't speak any Polish, did you?
no, absolutely not.
So
I
that's why we
just
brought Kevin
imagine
on.
I
So you can practice your swear words that you learned. It's the first words you learn in another language, right? Is the swear words.
basically for me the time now. no. But are you Kevin from Poland?
My family is Polish, yeah.
So pan lubi po polsku?
Ah, dzień dobry, jak się masz?
No,
I don't speak,
to trochę jest.
yeah, I don't speak that much Polish, but
Uh,
I learned a
no,
little
ja
bit,
mówię
but
przez to, że nie.
I don't know.
So maybe we can switch back to English because we've just exposed one of Kevin's flaws. But
Yeah, my
Igor,
father was from Poland, and he taught us a little bit when I was a kid, but I don't really remember much of it.
Igor,
Yeah,
you,
but
you
I
you
had
spoke
to.
Ukrainian and you turned up in
Yeah,
Poland where you didn't speak the
yeah.
language. How long did it teach you? Sorry, how long did it take you to learn to communicate with people?
Um, I think like 2 or 3 months or something. But once again, I got stuck in a super, super forgotten village in the middle of nowhere just because locals were super loyal and locals are very, very good people. So as soon as they found out that I'm Ukrainian, they just let me in to live in some wooden made shelter at the top of the mountain just for free. So it was my only option to have any shelter basically because once again I had no sources to rent something or to like move somewhere. And yeah, I found myself there, and it was a small village with two shops and one bar and one gas station and nothing else. And mountains all around. Like, I don't know, 40 kilometers, just mountains, 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 and Slovakian border. Yeah, so I was like an alien there, like literally. Locals never have seen any foreigner in their village. Never. So everyone was very curious when I came out to this shop or to the bar. It was the only place I could have a draft beer, which I really love. Everyone was tending to speak to me, but they couldn't. And I never faced that the people can understand absolute zero words from any other language. I was speaking Ukrainian, Russian, Czech language, and English. I was trying to communicate with them, and it was zero success, absolute zero. So I was really forced. And yeah, when people were later asking me when I learned myself to speak Polish, I'm answering in the bar because it's basically true. So I was literally sitting there trying to communicate with locals, and they were super fun. They were like open people, you know. They were just curious, who am I and how the hell I got there. But at the first stages, it was unsuccessful. So they were trying to bring me some more beer and just to hug me a bit and just to continue the conversation. And I was, man, please, if you can some other way, I just don't understand. Yeah, and it took like 2 months for me to get to understand them, and like 1 or 2 months more to start to talk to them. So all of these guys, I mean, guys, they were 70 years old locals in average who were in that bar for the last like 30 years, but they all became my friends. They're very good people, you know.
Mm,
Lots of
mm,
them, I can imagine they had lived their whole life over there without even visiting the closest big city. I mean,
yeah,
big city is Katowice. It's like small town basically. But those
yeah.
people never even went visiting that. For me, it was pretty like sh I was shocked, you know.
Mm.
But yeah,
I
they were living their
imagine
life there.
like it's hard to leave your home country and leave everything behind, literally, like leave everything like shoes and hats and sunglasses, like you weren't traveling with a travel bag. But then it's also very hard to learn another language. I mean, obviously, nowadays you got Duolingo and someone can say to you, if you want to know this word in Chinese, instead of saying hello, you say ni hao. But I'm communicating with you in English to try and teach you a foreign language. You had nothing. You didn't even have a frame of reference. So I'm thinking
Yeah,
that would have
absolutely.
been a hardship as well, trying to learn a language when they can't even communicate with you at all. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Fortunately, Polish is a bit similar to Ukrainian.
right.
So yeah, I could find some, some pieces to put up together, but still it's impossible for people in major cities like in Warsaw and Krakow. If you're talking in Ukrainian, then they can understand you, like you can communicate. But those people in mountains not, because they have even their separate dialect, like Góralski Polski it's called. So it's like a different language. So, and this is dramatically different from Ukrainian. So that was the problem, you know? And I was shocked. How can they understand zero? But yeah, it was literally like that. I was literally like an alien somewhere in another like universe, you know?
Mm.
So yeah, it was tough. But once again, it taught me a lot of things. And it changed me in a very positive way. It was a toughest period, but at the same time, the best period, you know? Can you imagine for the whole year, all of what I was doing is just walking around the mountains by myself, all alone. I don't have a people to communicate to.
Mm.
I only could call my parents once in a while, and basically that's it.
Kevin, did you know there was like mountain Polish and standard Polish?
I just learned that right now.
You should know, you should ask your father, the Beskidian Mountains. Góralskie Beskidi, koło Żywca.
Totally
Oh
different
yeah,
languages in the one
yeah.
country.
Four of them actually in Poland alone, as I found out later. When I came to the major cities, I was to Krakow later. They were asking me, where the hell you learned yourself to speak Polish? I was telling
Mm.
in their region, and they said, it's wrong Polish. We are talking another way. Now you have to learn once again.
Yeah. Well,
It literally what
since
happened.
you've had to learn and adapt and create change in your life, and to all the aspiring entrepreneurs listening to the podcast, what would you say your greatest lesson is, and how can you say to people, from your experiences, help them where they are?
What I found out for myself, because once again, I had pretty much time to think. Um, the crucial thing is to understand your inner motivation, what drives you from the inside, and it's personal for everyone. For all three of us, it may be the different things. What drives you? What makes you wake up in the morning? What's your own motivation to do something? So when I ask to myself about my motivation, everything started to like put up together. So I just found out that basically I'm just curious. So I just understood that my like inner fire is curiosity.
Yeah.
And from that point, everything started to make sense for me. So I am personally an explorer and like I like to discover. So I just started to was I was just curious. Like even in that period when I was just sitting in that wooden made house on the top of the mountain doing nothing, I suddenly became curious. Like yesterday I was walking that mountain, but today I can go there. I'm just curious what's happened there. Without doubts, without fears, with nothing. Just curious. And from that point on, I clearly understand that this drives me. And in all of my project and everything I'm doing currently, curiosity comes first. Just curious. I'm just gonna try to do that. And I'm curious what will be the outcome. I'm not afraid of something bad to happen. I'm just curious.
Yeah,
And for
exactly.
everyone, it can be personal.
Exactly. And I think from that, it's really know yourself, right? I find
Yeah,
a lot of entrepreneurs and myself included, you really got to figure out what you're good at and bad at, mental acuity and capacity. It's really hard to do the hard things. And if you're not the person to do the hard things, then don't do the hard things. You know what I mean? I learned that the hard way. I could go shovel a mountain down with a shovel, but when it comes down to, making hard decisions around giving up control or taking a step back, or as a founder, you fall in love with your business and project. And the best thing that I've learned in my career, and I've lost about $1 million not making this decision at the right time is get out early and let other people run your business. You know what I mean? You don't want to be the operator. You don't want to sit there and try to do it. Our jobs as founders is to think of the idea and then find someone to run it. Because if you want to run it, you're gonna be working a 40-hour job, your wife's gonna hate you, you're gonna take you're gonna take a mental, you're gonna lose yourself in the project. And my biggest thing that I learned, and I'll ask you, Jeremy, the same thing to you, is, the biggest lesson I've learned is simply, know yourself. Because if you think you can do something, I've renovated and built houses and buildings by myself, but I've always messed it up on trying to get myself out of the equation because I fall in love with it. I'm like, this is my
Mhm.
baby, this is my vision, but really, if you're in love with a project, you're not in love with yourself and you're not in love with your wife. That's just what it comes down to.
Yeah, 100%.
Jeremy, what about you?
I'm just loving the curiosity. Like, I can see Igor's brain, the desire to learn new things, like leaving your home country, going to another country, learning a language. I would have gone absolutely crackerjacks not being able to communicate with another human being. Like I would have been asking these guys, like, can I use your phone to talk to someone in my language? Can we connect up to the internet so at least I could talk to someone in English or something like that? It's very difficult, but you just embraced all these challenges and just something new, something new, something new. I'm going to learn a new language. I'm going to explore this new area. What the hell? I'm going to start a new business, and try and help other people as well. So it's mad respect, man. It's fantastic.
Thanks a lot, but that's literally how it went, literally. And you cannot even imagine my happiness when the first time I met an English-speaking person there in these mountains. Like maybe 4 months after I got stuck there, just walking on the mountain, I saw the guy who became my good friend, Sebastian. He was serving in army in Britain because of the NATO, some trainings or something. So he was living in Britain for 7 years, and he was really good. The only guy over there in the whole area who was talking in English. When I first hear it, I was no way. I was like, man, please, please come over here. Like, we definitely have things to discuss.
So how many languages can you speak now, Igor?
I'd like to say five, but
Yeah.
basically I would say 4.5 because when I finished the school, I went to Czech. I was living in Prague in Czech Republic, and I was studying there for the whole year. I was about to enter the university, so I learned Czech language. But the tricky thing is, I wasn't never practicing after, like it was 15 years ago or something. And then I learned Polish. And now, when I came to Czech once again, I was trying to talk to locals in Czech, but it turned out to be Polish. So I forgot Czech language. So replacement happened.
Wow.
So four, let's say, Ukrainian, Russian, Polish, and English. And now I'm learning Spanish because I'm living
Yeah.
in Spain and I'm learning Spanish.
Great.
Fantastic.
And then another question for you, relative to the crypto world, are there any projects or things that you're certainly excited about?
In the crypto world in general,
Yeah.
only you, Ben.
So how do people buy your token? How do they learn more about your project?
Later, we didn't issue our token currently, but we will implement a lot of Web3 elements into our technology, such as NFT, but not for buying some things as an NFTs, but for coding your personal discount program as a unique token to every wallet. We're going to code the sub wallet thing as an NFT, as a piece of code. So this will guarantee that this wallet, how to say it, belongs to this particular user, right? Our token gonna come later. Once again, I cannot publicly discuss it yet, but later. But how can they buy it? Just usually we're gonna list it on some exchanges because we know a lot of them and we are working with a lot of them. It's important to mention that we have another business and operational core businesses when we are helping people to create fintech projects for themselves worldwide. So we are helping to buy and sell financial licenses and to connect them to proper rails, both crypto and fiat worldwide. So we just know how to construct it properly. So to list our token for us on some exchange, it's absolutely not a problem.
Yeah, that's great. And then relative to your life story in crypto, how did you and when did you get into crypto slash Bitcoin?
Bitcoin. uh, oh, first I heard about it in 2013, I believe. Some younger people was telling me about it. It's time to invest in mining stations, you know. It was 2013. And basically I was pretty successful that time. Like I had funds which I couldn't have invest. But I was thinking like, what? Like it's some bullshit, you know, some youngsters, some like, you know, delusional. So yeah, now I understand it was a mistake.
Yeah. And did
Yes,
you buy
but
into
what
big?
important? No, no,
No. Yeah.
no. But important lesson is that that was my mistake. But why? Just because I didn't tend to dig deeper into the subject. So if I took like 1 day to analyze the market, to analyze what is actually about, 100,000%, I would have bought it. Instead of my new Mercedes or something, I would have bought Bitcoin, but I just never took efforts to, you know, to analyze that.
Yeah.
So I
And
I understood that mistake and I tried to, you know, recover it.
yeah, and that's an important lesson to learn too, is if you don't reflect on your mistakes. I remember I got into Bitcoin about 2014 when Coinbase first launched. And I bought it and then I sat on it and then not that much. But then I was like waiting. I was like, I don't want to buy more. What is this thing? Whatever. And then the whole time, when it went way up, I was like, oh shit, what am I doing? And so, you gotta really take a step back and think about from a landed point of view, reflect on your past and the mistakes you make. The
Absolutely.
story of a sociopath is one that doesn't learn from their mistakes and makes the same mistakes in the future. I just recently broke my phone because went jogging in the rain and it totally got messed up. And then I got a brand new phone, and about 6 days later, I was taking a shower and I left the phone on the ground and it got wet again. I was like, what an idiot. You know what I mean? I didn't learn my lesson. And now I have like a phone that like has like a little bit of water damage. And so I was like, what am I doing with my life? I had to sit there for like an hour being like, why didn't I think about my mistake? You know what I mean? And I think that is really something that is learned the hardest way, is that if you don't take action, right? I've had so many times where I've had an opportunity to sell a business and I go, oh, what if it gets better? What if I get better offers? What if I get this? I had a business I could have sold for about $1.2 million. And about a year later, it was worth nothing. And, action is always the key element. The most successful entrepreneurs I know, they sit there and they don't hem and haw, they just say yes. Because saying no is so easy. It reduces your cortisol, it reduces your stress. You don't want to go ask that girl at the bar because it's easier just to say no. So I am unfortunate, have lost a lot of money because I learned the cost of saying no. And I remember in my head, I was like, "Oh, this is great. I'm in this space. I'm like with crypto, I was like, no, 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 it's too stressful. And then when I finally said yes, I was already behind. So it's always better to make a mistake and learn from it than say no and never learn, right? Do you have any
Absolutely.
experiences in your life that are akin to that?
Ooh. Where to start? Like a million and a half, I think.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
unfortunate.
for
I
sure.
think those mistakes become the lessons of your life, right? Time is our most precious resource, and as we need to learn quickly and adapt, the only way to do that is to say yes, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Because otherwise you're reducing your chances to achieve anything because doing usual things, you will never achieve some special results, you know. To achieve something, you need to do something unusual for yourself at the first stage. And
Yeah,
I
exactly.
remember when I was reading some book, I don't remember the exact name, um, maybe like From Good to Great,
Mhm.
probably. But I remember the quote from there. They were talking about some legendary uh, ship captain who was taking his ship through the extreme storm somewhere,
Mhm.
and the whole team survived. It was like the whole story, so it was super dangerous, etc., etc. And then he got interviewed, and he said that the most important thing while you're the captain of the ship is to face the facts and face the reality, even if it's very harmful and very bad.
Yeah, and very
So, what I
hard,
mean
right?
exactly. So, I was thinking about this a lot while I was walking into the Polish mountains for a year. I had a lot of time. Um, so for me, I understand this as that no matter how bad situation is or good situation is, you never can distort it in your perception. You always need to see clearly on the things. So in your case, when you could sell your business for $1.2 million, yeah, you were
Yeah.
most likely thinking that this is not the point, that probably it's gonna get better, blah blah blah. But I'm pretty sure that if you at that point, if you would think deeper and if you wouldn't lie to yourself, you probably could predict that there was a
Yeah, and
point
that's
that you
that's
can't
the
do this.
truth is lying to
See?
yourself. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
very
and that's the main
easy.
problem.
It's very easy to lie to yourself. And at the time, I was so busy doing operations and doing business and closing deals and running the business that I didn't give my time to think. And, I lied to myself and saying like, "Oh, I think if I can do better, we did this much this year, next year we're going to do greater, and by the time 2 years goes by, we're going to have a $5 million business, right?" And that is the least productive method of thinking. I believe that the two less greatest lessons I've learned, and I've lost a lot of money because of this, is that one, you need a board of directors to make managerial hard calls, right? Like as a operator, you're there running your business, but you need your investors to be your board of directors, right? You need someone who can make those hard calls, especially as a first-time entrepreneur. I've always been like, oh, I'm the guy. I can do this. I don't want to give up control. I don't want to give up what I need to do. But, I think you're an idiot if you think you can do everything, right? And I am, another business I was running, I didn't do that. And then I didn't make the hard calls that need to be made, about as a big real estate business. And, I basically made some of my investors took too long on certain things, and now you're in the hot seat. You know what I mean? So as the general partner, you want to not ever be in the hot seat. You just want to run your business, do good work, and then let others sometimes make good decisions. And not that you need a board of directors, but if you do have investors, a board of directors does protect you very much in all aspects of the business. Oh, you forgot to file taxes on time. Oh, you forgot to send, investor relations documents. Oh, you forgot to, talk about something in the business that, that you didn't disclose well enough because you're moving too fast. That's not your job anymore, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense, big time.
How many
And
how many
then,
females on your team, Igor? The advisors or the board?
Of advisors, we currently have six. In the co-founders, there are three of us. We're all males.
Hmm.
It just happened to be that way. But yeah, now we are forming the board of female advisors who are experts in all the particular niches. And later on, we're gonna partnership with some women who are making products for women, such as educational products or some advisory or HR or all of these sectors.
Hmm.
So we want to build into our application all the products made women by women for women, let's say.
Nice.
So we just want to, design that infrastructure and that ecosystem for this audience.
Mm.
But obviously, we just don't know how it should look like exactly. That's why we're just proposing and getting feedbacks. And like on my interviews, I'm taking online with women entrepreneurs, women in tech, in government, in communities, influencers. So I'm literally just gathering the feedback, and
Mm.
that gives us an idea how to properly design the product. So we're just executioners.
right, exactly. So on your company itself, what's the ratio of men to women?
Um, Once again, as I mentioned, let's say 3 men to 6 women. So basically, the ratio is nice.
Mm.
But
No.
I'm not counting the developers team. There are 5 of them, all males, but they're developers. I don't know if we can count them or not. They're like in another realm,
Yeah. And
But
then relative to your partners, how did you guys meet? How do you guys complement each other? In what world, do you guys work really well together? Love to hear, the work ethic and synergies you guys do.
Yes, that's the thing. When I was over there at my Polish period of life, accidentally when I was in Krakow, uh, through our mutual friend, I met that co-founder of mine, who is now my closest friend and partner and co-founder, accidentally, just because they were passing by the city, and he got me the call. I mean, our mutual friend got me the call and said, "We are here. Let's meet. Like, I don't know, have some beers and go for the walk, etc." So yeah, and that evening, we somehow found out that there is something, there is the synergy because we were, exchanging our experiences and everything. So he said that he's in the banking for 18 years already. He's building the new companies, so to do this and that, this and that. And I said that I have a banking degree as well, and that I was always interested in, but I had my own projects not related to banking before. So, and after that, he just said that let's have a project together. Will you be the CEO? And I will be the executioner, like legal side and all of the structuring. And I said, yes, why not? So that's how it started. It
Nice.
was
That's awesome.
two a bit more than 2 years ago. It was 1 year after I lost everything and started the new life of myself.
mm.
So I redeveloped myself completely. And that particular meeting was like the starting point of current projects. So I got involved in literally at one evening. And then it got me to move to Spain because he was living there, and I relocated to be closer to have an ability to communicate more and more and more. So that's how it started. From that point, we started to develop. and it's like ongoing process.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna throw a
amazing.
question out. As there'll be women listening to this and saying, okay, we've already got a business, we're already banking with, Chase Bank or XYZ Bank.
Yeah, whatever.
What's going to be the attraction? Why should a woman entrepreneur move her business to your bank?
Just because of the community side, I think, and just because of the design, and just because of our focus on them, just because we're giving the attention to them. So I suppose that there's like, all the great things are easy things if you think about it. So basically, just because we are designing it for them and nobody else is doing them, still, even for me, some banking applications I'm using, a lot of them, and they're extremely complicated. Like I cannot find the proper thing. It just works. I don't know how. It just like crazy. So we are here to solve that. We're here to give the usable, nice looking, and fun product. We don't want it to be the boring old school banking or something sort of things. Just want it to look attractive, to be nice to use. And I believe, it's my deep belief that that is how it should be, how it should look like. All the great things you're using, the iPhone, you're using it and buying it just because it's convenient to use. It's nice to keep it in hand. It's nothing special. Android is like 100 times smarter than this thing, but still, it's just nice. And I believe this is the main principle. So there's no some secret sauce. Like we don't want to pay to somebody to, bring some client or something. Like, no, just want to tailor a perfect product.
Yeah.
And I
Exactly.
believe that's the only option.
You mentioned before about education that you provide. Is that education around crypto? Is that education about banking or running a business? What format does that come in?
We are now working on this. It's not ready fully, but what we're thinking currently is that educational programs on how to use Web3 and crypto, how to use AI tools. We already have a partners who are doing that. We're running female communities on that topics. Pretty much like 3,000 or 4,000 members each. And separately, some business courses here, how to invest properly. So that's what I mean by educational. So our main goal is that through educational product, we want to empower women to learn them how to earn more out of existing tools, of existing opportunities. They're out there, but lots of people just don't know about them. And one of our missions is to explain them that crypto is a very useful thing, and it's not scary, and it's not 100% scam. You're not gonna lose your money if you will buy USDT or Bitcoin or something, whatever. So we think that we just need to educate people, to show them an examples, and to give them the proper tools, especially when we are talking about our target audience. For them, it's 90% something scary, something out there, something distant and unclear. I believe if we're gonna switch the perspective, first of all, we're gonna give them a very good tool to use, because all of us now we know that this is a good thing, right? It's not a scam. It's useful. So we want to explain our audience this, and that's how we want to attract a new huge piece of audience into the Web3 and crypto community.
For people out there, female people or male people, if your bank is not educating you about blockchain, if your bank is not educating you about crypto, you start to worry that you're going to be left behind. It's like if your school didn't teach you about computers, then you're going to be left behind.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
Fantastic, mate. We need to wind up. We've got a couple more minutes. We'll probably get one more question out of Kevin, but also you need to tell us where people can sign up. I'm assuming you also allow blokes to have a bank account, or maybe not.
Sorry?
You allow men to have a bank account as well?
So far, yes, but I believe at some point we're gonna cut this option at all.
Okay. Okay. So if I've got a narrow window for the next 10 minutes, you can open up an account. Where do I go to open an account?
Just easy on our website, onlyubank.com.
Only you with a U, not YOU.
Like
So
you, as you see here on my logo,
some
you
people
not as
listening
a
on
three
Spotify.
letters. All right. Sorry, I forgot it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just you as a one letter U.
So ONLYU bank.com.
Exactly.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Kevin, you got a final question and then wrap up for us, mate?
Yeah, just last question. Do you have any good book recommendations? What's your favorite book?
Oh man, business wise or just whatever, just like literature.
Just business wise.
Um, you know what? I was reading a lot. I was reading quite a lot of books on business and everything, but I don't remember them at all, to be honest. Uh,
Yeah.
honestly, in my opinion, you cannot agree with me. I think reading business literature is nonsense. I think it's not useful at all. Because once again, people are obsessed with this, but there are a few ideas which you can come up to by yourself without reading these books. And you're not implementing this in your everyday life and in your business. Nobody's doing that, okay? People are reading this thinking that they will become the billionaires next day they're finishing. So I don't believe it's useful at some way at some point to give you motivation or some basic knowledge if you're in your like mid 20s and thinking about going to the business and something. It might be useful, yeah. But for me personally, I do more appreciate the usually classic books, you know. And if you're asking me about the recommendation, I will tell you that my absolutely favorite book of all times is Theodore Dreiser, Trilogy of Desire. I was reading it in Russian. I don't know if I translated this correctly, but this is the whole Financist, Titan, and Stoic. I believe it's like three books at one. Theodore Dreiser.
Amazing.
This is an absolutely outstanding thing. It's like a biopic on the guy who became the first richest guy in United States at the end of 19th century. He was a railway magnate. He built the half of Chicago and half of New York back in the days. And just his life, I mean, how he was thinking, how he was acting, how he was doing things, etc., and is written so deeply that literally when I was reading this, that changed my mind a lot. That changed my perception big time, you know.
Yeah,
And I
and
think
that's
that is
great.
useful.
Really awesome. And then to wrap it up, we appreciate you taking your time here. We're looking forward to following you as your company progresses. If any investors are listening, you are raising a seed round currently, correct?
A bit later, we're gonna open the seed round. Yeah, that's cool.
So feel free to reach out to Igor about the seed round. A really intelligent individual. He really takes life by the horns, so to say. Success in his own right. You know, it seems like it would be a great thing to look at for any of our prospective listeners. And then finally, Jeremy, thank you so much for your time. This has been a great podcast. And signing off, I'm Kevin Foyton. This is the Cryllionaire podcast.
Thank you, Egor PODKOLZIN. Apologies about that.
Yeah.
Egor PODKOLZIN. Kevin Voighton, Jeremy Britton, thank you very much. Very exciting story. Rockstar, extreme sports, pilgrimage through the mountains, and now Only You Bank, the best bank for women entrepreneurs, education, and love it. Thanks very much, guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, gents, very much. Have a great one. Thank you really much for inviting me today.
Yes. Thank you guys.